Tree in the Trail by Holling, Clancy, and Holling, Chapters 7, 8, and 9. Chapter 7, The Talking Tree. Whatever the big cottonwood might be, animals and birds knew it only as a friend. Buffalo rubbed their sides against its trunk. Deer and antelope sought its cool shade. Prairie hawk sat primly on its twig tips. Eagles swooped down to perch on its outstretched limb, and the songsters speckled in great green crown with their nests. Yet Indians wondered whether it was a good or an evil thing. In winter, stark and bare upon the lonely hill, it moaned in the bitter winds among its branches. On still nights, Cody seemed to mourn for its moon shadow, like a woman's ghost frozen on the snow. Even in summer, blanketed in leaves, it was a woman listening, beckoning, pointing, and begging to be taken on the trail towards the setting sun. With every breeze it begged, chattered in its leaves. Was it not a talking tree, a medicine tree? Who knew and repeated any secret? The Indians remembered an old shield on its trunk, seen 3 lifetimes ago. It first had been scratched with bird tracks, sparrow size. Later the marks grew big as eagle's trails, scorched perhaps by the thunderbird, chief of lightning. It was a medicine tree. Then it could hear any war plans made on the hill, tell them to the birds, and thus warn the enemy. At last, a man from an eastern tribe stepped forward to end discussions. "My father saved this tree from the buffalo people," he said. "To it he gave his first shield. It is a peace medicine tree, a shield against evil. No war should come near it. See, I give it a peace offering," and he tied a feather pipe to a drooping branch. Thus, across the plains, the hill of the talking tree became known as an island of peace, set in the seas of war. Chapter 8. The Thunderbird Speaks. The talking tree was considered only a foolish myth by the Comanches, a northern tribe now roaming the Great Plains. Hard riders, hard fighters, they raided even New Mexican ranches whenever they wished. A Comanche war party surprised 2 Pawnee braves, chasing them eastward day after day. The Pawnees reached the Hill of Peace in a driving rain, pausing under the cottonwood to make the sign of medicine tree. Their enemies, coming within bowshot, only screamed their scorn and lashed their ponies faster. The Comanches had arrows with points of Spanish iron. They yanked their bows from waterproof coverings and began shooting at full gallop. Iron-tipped shafts tore through the rain and rattled, quivering into the cottonwood trunk above the Pawnee. Then it was true that Comanches had no respect for this sacred tree. The Pawnees kicked their tired ponies' ribs, speeding away. When they looked back, the pursuers had topped the hill, were under the tree still racing. But at that instant the world went blank in a flash of blinding white light. When the Pawnee could look again, they saw only dark forms scattered across between the buttes. Nothing moved on the hill but the mist of rain and wisps of smoke from the tree. They dragged the bodies of their enemies far from the hill. Rain put out the fire that the lightning bolt had kindled. The tree was unharmed except for a jagged scar down the trunk like the marks of a giant claw. To Indians, this accident was proof that the thunderbird had spoken. From then on, all tribes agreed that no war should ever come to the Hill of Peace. And after that, even passing Comanches tied offerings to the twigs of the talking tree. Chapter 9. Trappers Cross the Plains. The French in America. Frenchmen carried on a great fur trade. Their forts on the main canoe portages held route from Canada to the Great Lakes to the Valley of France. After France, Britain held Canada, except New Orleans, westward to the land west of the Mississippi. Louisiana was still French. So Frenchmen trapped more than a few hundred in the entire across the plains, scattered. Rockies to trap and trade. That shows the whole Mississippi River basin there. We talked about the main part of the Mississippi with men, but this shows the Missouris added to it. With passing years, the tree grew larger until birds nested in its branches 70 feet above the pond. Owls lived in a hollow where the lightning had burned. Growing wood long since had swallowed the Comanche arrow points of iron. The medicine tree was now a century old. While Spaniards had been settling in New Mexico, Frenchmen had come to eastern Canada. They paddled canoes up the St. Lawrence, through the Great Lakes, and down the Mississippi to the river to the Gulf. Towns sprang up around their forts where Indians bartered furs for blankets and brass kettles. A few French trappers rode west across the plains. Pack horses carried their steel traps as well as cloth, small mirrors and beads, tickets of safe passage among Spaniards and Indians. The Spaniards liked the French, Indians liked the presents, and so for the next 100 years small bands of trappers roamed the Rocky Mountains, where the mountain streams fairly boiled with beaver. At Taos and Santa Fe in New Mexico, Frenchmen sold beaver pellets for Spanish silver and gold. Some trappers settled down in these money towns. Others returned across plains to St. Louis and New Orleans with tales of riches and adventure. A few Americans drifted west to the Rockies, following the French hunters and trappers who liked plenty of elbow room. Crossing the plains, the first of these mountain men camped at the hill with the friendly Pawnees and asked a chief, "What's all the foo-for-rah dangling among these twisted trees? Why all the fuss and feathers?" "Peace offering to this tree of peace," explained the chief, and told the story. And thus, from St. Louis to Santa Fe, mountain men retold the tale until the cotton wool was over 2 centuries old. Tree and the Trail, chapters 7, 8, and 9.